Well, after Rebecca and I honeymoon, we located to Chicago. We lived in the Arlington Heights ward in Elk Grove Village. And I could see that that company was not going to make it financially. They were going to go broke. So I made arrangements to move back to Utah and lived on Lincoln Lane in Salt Lake City.
We purposely didn't think about starting a family because we realized that we needed to date each other after we were married. Because we had such a short courtship, we decided that this was really special time for us. We spent time together. I got a job working there in Salt Lake City. There was a furniture store there that that hired me as soon as they found out I was a BYU graduate. And then it just seemed natural. After over a year, we just said, you know, it's time to start our family. We felt very good about that. We had found a place where we could buy a new condominium that was being built. We anticipated that we were going to have a little boy, and we picked out his name. He was going to be George Lawrence Hawkins, but we were going to call him Lance. We were so surprised when the doctor announced it's a baby girl. John talked about the name Sonia because that was part of his Brazil connection. I liked the name Heather. I thought Heather Hawkins was beautiful. But my brother had a girl named Heather, so I didn't think I should repeat it. Then he also talked about the name Heidi. I didn't like that. But when we went home, I held that baby. That just did not fit. She was not Sonia. So I said, okay, we've eliminated the other things. Her name is Heidi. We somehow knew that we weren't going to stay in Salt Lake. We said, this is a transition to somewhere. We didn't know when or where. So I said, John, you know what, I'll live anywhere. I don't want to live in Southern California. Somehow when I'd been going to school and I had met people from Southern California, it just kind of seemed like they thought the whole world was, revolved around California. I don't want to be in that. So I had said no. However, his uncle who was in California called John and said, John, there's a wonderful opportunity here. There's a business management firm in Beverly Hills that you could come and work for them, and I think that you would really like this. He went down to make the decision of whether that was what he wanted, and I stayed home with the baby, and when he got down there, he knew it was. He said, yes, this is what I want. Our little girl was at least a year and a half old, and so while we were waiting in the house, kind of through a decision, next thing, I could announce that I was pregnant. So we were expecting our second child. We were looking for a home, and we found a wonderful home there in Glendale. It was a home built in 1927. It was so charming. A Spanish home. John wasn't as excited about it. I just saw all kinds of potential. I said, oh, yes, let's get this house. During this, John had made a transition. He didn't stay with the business management company. He went off on his own and started working for the development office of the church. He did have some clients who followed him, so there was always a lot of office work to do. We started going to our new ward. It took a while to get the house ready for us to move into. And I remember being on my hands and knees up on the top floor while we were sanding the floors because there were beautiful hardwood floors in the home. As far as I was concerned, I saw all kinds of potential. And I was pregnant at the time. I was feeling sorry for this baby. I thought, she's not as special as the first one. But then she arrived. All those feelings went away. She was just the most wonderful little baby girl. And we were deciding names. I knew that my brother had a girl named Heather, and it was Heather Siemens. And I said, oh, but that's not the same as Heather Hawkins. I just thought that went together. And when the doctor had announced there was another baby girl, I just thought, okay, I have to use that name. We hadn't set any number of how many children we would have or how big our family would be. We were just letting that happen. We realized that we were having children about every 2 to 2.5 years, and it just seemed right. We said, okay, it's time to have another baby. But I knew I could do it, and I kind of in my mind thought, I really would like a girl again because we know how to do girls. But when the doctor announced that it was another baby girl, John just knew, he instinctively said, I guess Hallie has arrived. I didn't know about it, and then he had heard of it because it was the name in a cosmetic company, and he heard it and he just said, Hallie has arrived, and I said, you're right. And so we were so ready for her because we weren't moving or fixing up a house. We actually had a little nursery room for her, and she just fit into our family, and we were thrilled to now have a family of 3 girls.
My full-time work was as a development officer for the church. Because sometimes on Friday I would do some business management work, although most of it was done on Saturday, and a lot of it was done by my wife.
By the time we had progressed to 3 children, I had found someone in our ward who would tend to the children 2 days a week. I would take the children out 2 days a week. I would work in the office there so that I could manage all things that John was doing for his business management clients while he was doing full-time for the development office of the church.
Heather seemed to have lots of energy. She did productive things, and even if you thought it was productive to climb up the walls in the doorway, we called her our Tigger, but nobody else did that.
Once again, John and I knew that it was time to add to our family. Now that we had Heidi, Heather, and Hallie, we realized we'd kind of set up a pattern in the family. Back in those days, I didn't find out the sex of the child before it arrived, and so we had talked about the name Helena, and I really liked that name. We talked about it enough that I was sure that that was the name. So in the hospital, I'm there with a birth certificate, and I'm going to write Helena, and John says, I don't think this is Helena. I go, really? I said, well then, who is it? And he thought for a minute, he says, I think her name should be Hillary. We hadn't talked about that before. It took him a few minutes to go with, and I felt comfortable. I said, okay, her name will be Hillary. So here we were with what we called the 4-H's. When you were in high school, you could belong to the 4-H group at high school. So we said we had the 4-H's now with all 4 of our girls. By the time Hillary arrived, John had been called to be bishop of our ward. Things seemed to be progressing at his business. Was working for the development office was a wonderful opportunity. Having the business management on the side was a good thing for me to help him, and the fact that we had it all set up for babysitters that were in our ward that could help me 2 days a week.
I had a friend who introduced me to a woman named Vanita Anderson. Vanita Anderson was a woman in her mid-40s, single. This woman had the credentials to be a general manager. So I had a chance to meet her and tell her what I wanted to do, that I had some clients, business management clients, my cousin John Hales being one, and they told me, John, we need to get in the car business. And I said, I don't have the expertise. It's quite a process to get in that business. Vanita said, I qualify. I want you to come with me to meet a woman named Mia Tizell, who represents two families who own a Mercedes-Benz and a Honda dealership in Montclair, California. And we went in to interview a lady that was a spokesperson for two families that owned this dealership. And as I came in the door, the secretary in there, or the chief office manager, said, are you Mr. Hawkins? And I said, yes. And she said, and Arthur Haycock from Salt Lake City wants to get in touch with you. He was the secretary to the first presidency, or to the president of the church. That would not have been unusual, because any one of the brethren could get a hold of me and say, we have a referral in Southern California, we want you to visit. So I thought this was a referral. So I called Salt Lake, and they said, President Kimball wants to talk to you. I thought, that's unusual. There's no reason for President Kimball to want to talk to me. So I made arrangements and said, why don't you call me on Monday morning? So on Monday morning, I went down to my office, put the phone right in front of me on the desk, and sat there waiting for Arthur Haycock to call. And it came noontime and he hadn't called. So finally I called and said, Brother Haycock, you said you were going to call me, and I've been sitting here so that you could get a hold of me.
Brother Hawkins?
Yes.
Haycock in Salt Lake City is returning your call. Would you hold one moment?
Yes.
Hawkins?
Yes, Brother Haycock.
Yes, President Kimball is here now. You're Bishop of Glendale 3rd Ward, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
All right, one moment.
And on the phone came President Kimball.
Bishop Hawkins,
Yes, President.
how are you?
Very fine, thank you.
Good. Bishop Hawkins, we have decided to call you on a mission, Portuguese mission, and wonder if you would be able to take care of that.
Yes, I will, President.
All right, fine. Understand you have a family living there with you in California.
Yes, I do.
If you could arrange to leave on July the 1st, we would appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Is all well with you?
Well, it was until this phone call, President.
Oh, I see. Your family are well?
They're very well, thank you.
Oh, that's good. That's fine. And thank you very kindly. We're so grateful for your devotion.
Okay, President.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much.
And I could not have been more shocked than his words, will you accept this call? And I, without hesitation, said yes. Because that Friday, my friend Vanita Anderson had pretty well made a commitment that we would buy that Mercedes-Benz Honda dealership. So there I was on Monday with a mission call and a commitment to buy an automobile dealership, and I didn't know anything about running them. The first problem I dealt with is I was going to have nothing to do with the management of this dealership. It was going to be Vanita. So I brought the money in, and in the meantime, I spent the bulk of my time after raising that money to preparing to go on the mission and wrap things up, because my full-time work was as a development officer for the church. I had 4 children. The youngest child was not a year old at that time. My mother was not at all pleased. She said, you can't go. You've got a young family. You're just getting set up in your profession. They need to give you at least a couple of years. My mother said, "You've got this baby, how are you going to get this baby to Brazil?" Well, Rebecca packed all the clothes in 4 duffel bags, including maternity clothes. We left for Brazil with 4 children.
Under the bed, I had boxes for age 2 to 4, then 4 to 6, 6 to 8. I thought, I'll need all those in Brazil. So it was quite a process to pack up everything and get it ready for Brazil. We were all prepared to live in Brazil. I had even gone to the MTC in Provo. I was there for 10 days. I certainly didn't leave speaking Portuguese. And that first day, everyone came to greet us in the mission home. And I stood in the middle of it, and I heard this Portuguese language that everyone was speaking, and I just couldn't believe it. This just sounds like noise. I think I'm on a different planet. But we knew that we were doing the right thing, and that we felt that was all in the scope of what our family could handle.
And Rebecca and I were in Brazil on July 1, 1981, and the escrow closed to buy that dealership on August 1.